Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today to talk about a frugal meal prepare, and this is mostly going to be for people who either work outside the home and they just need something that can save them where they don't have to go out and buy lunch from the cafeteria or a local restaurant, or just snack on unhealthy stuff and things that can be heated up easily. So we're talking mostly about hot lunches, because obviously sandwiches and soups, these are things that are easy to take, and we all know that because soups can be put in thermoses and most sandwiches can be eaten cold, no big deal there. But the other thing these meals can be used for is just to have some simple one dish meals on hand, in the case of just like we have canned foods such as chili and so on that we can quickly heat up. This is the same idea. The main difference is that you're going to be freezing these items. So some people might not think about all the many meals that they make that can easily be divided up into one dish meals and then frozen and then reheated in that very container. So we're going to be talking about some various types of meals that you can make, as well as the containers you can use. Now the funny thing about this is I was making Patrick's lunches for years and years, usually soups and sandwiches, things that were easy for him to take and eat. And every morning I'd get up and make these. And I don't know why I didn't think of this until he worked in a town that was about a 4-hour drive from here. And he would live there and come home on the weekends where he had a longer weekend. And what I started doing when I would make stuff for me and the kids while he was gone, I would always make a really big batch of it and then divide up what the kids and I didn't eat into smaller batches. So on the weekends Patrick came home, I would have enough meals for him. And this wasn't just for lunch, these were dinners too, so that he didn't have to go out to eat all the time or worry about making his own food, because he worked 12-hour shifts, plus he had, even from where he lived over in that area, he still had to commute an hour back and forth for a while, and that's pretty long days. So anyway, once he was able to get a job back here in this area again, I continued this on so that he could have his lunches the same way. I just have to pull one out of the freezer in the morning, pack his lunch, maybe throw in some carrots or some other things with it, some fruit, so he has some kind of fresh produce to eat with it. And there we go. It was super easy to do. So, and then by the time lunchtime came around, it was thawed out enough that all he had to do really was just to heat it in whatever he had available to heat stuff in. And unfortunately there, it was just microwave. But if where someone works, they have a toaster oven, that's also a good option. Does take longer because glass is going to be safer and it's going to have more options of use. It can be used in a microwave, it can be used in a toaster oven. So let me talk first about these receptacles. So I have bigger ones than this, but these here are the ones that I most commonly would use for his lunches. The bigger round one like this, or even this, were the ones I would use when I would send soup with him. But these sizes here, now all these ones here are the snap lock or glass lock, whatever it's called. This one here is Pyrex. Yes, they all have plastic tops, but you're going to be removing these when you go to heat it. The important part is the glass part that's holding the food. So these three here, these were used more for the other types of foods that weren't soups. And of course, you know, like I said, there's always thermoses, but this is the way I did it, and he just already had a bowl to eat out of. I will put links to some of these below. They won't be the same exact sets because they change all the time, but anything that you can find that is a good glass container that can go in the oven or the microwave, that also has a tight-fitting top on it so that it makes it easily portable without spillage, then that's what you want to look for. So now let's talk about the types of meals, aside from soup, that freeze beautifully, that you can send in this way. So I did write down a list. Now I do have recipes for many of these things, not everything, but most of these things I'm going to be mentioning. But pretty much any kind of casserole or one dish meal is going to freeze up beautifully in smaller amounts like this that you can take and thaw out and still be just as good as when they were made fresh. So there's always chili. Chili is a great one. And then some one dish meal ideas would be the sausage, potato, and cabbage combination one dish meal. I have another one out there that's is kind of a rice-a-roni type thing. I never know what to call it, but usually I use ground beef or ground venison or ground elk with some broken spaghetti noodles and rice, and I brown all that and cook it up. I actually ended up, I don't know how this happened, but I ended up having 3 different videos on that same recipe, not forgetting that I had the other one. So I'll link to the most current one down below. That one is a pretty popular one, and it's so easy to tailor it to whatever you like to have in it. Then there's meatballs and gravy. Typically, you know, we like that over rice. So you would have this all made up and just put it in the container, put your rice in, then put your meatballs and gravy on top. There's fried rice, whether it be chicken fried rice, pork fried rice, shrimp fried rice, beef fried rice, or even just a vegetable fried rice. I like to make, whenever I do a fried rice, I always make it very hearty. I put lots of stuff in there. Enchiladas, homemade enchiladas I consider those more of a casserole because of the way I make them. And so those are great for that. Then you have like your tuna noodle casserole. Pretty much any kind of pasta dish is going to work well. But I don't usually use tuna. I use local caught salmon or steelhead when I make that, but the idea is the same. I don't think I have a recipe video out on that. But yeah, I mean, most people know how to make a tuna noodle casserole. You can just substitute the tuna if you don't like tuna with any other fish or whatever you want. Because the same goes with macaroni and cheese. You can make macaroni and cheese, or you can make a hamburger mac and cheese and add whatever vegetables you want. There's tamale pie, Serbian moussaka, shepherd's pie. I don't have a video on that, but I do have an old one out on the chicken and biscuit pot pie. Those ones are all great. Now you could do a standard pot pie where you do the regular pie crust. One thing I have found about pie crusts and that kind of thing, when you freeze them and thaw them out, and they're not as good. The pie crust has a tendency to take on a rubbery texture, but you can try it and see. I mean, whoever's eating it might be just fine with it. I don't know if I mentioned lasagna or spaghetti, but there's a couple right there. Oh, homemade burritos. That's another one that's really good. I would make the homemade burritos and then wrap those individually and send those. And those were a great thing for Patrick to heat up easily. So what I'm going to do is I'll link to my full playlist of meals where all this is in there, so you can go through and find those, the ones that I have out so far, rather than me linking to each individual one that I already have out. But anyway, that's just a few ideas. So a lot of you probably have your set types of casseroles that you like to make, that as long as it's especially anything with a rice or a pasta base, those ones work really well. Or if you're gluten-free or even grain-free and you're using something like a zucchini or something like that in replacement, those can freeze up pretty well too. I'm not sure that they'd freeze up as good as your pasta, but you can at least give it a try. These are anything you're unsure about, try freezing up just one small little bit and then try it first and see, did that freeze up well? Well, you didn't throw the whole thing out, freezing it and finding out it didn't freeze up and thaw out as well. And then you'll know, you'll get familiar with what works best. But at any rate, as I said, a microwave, if there's no toaster oven, that's going to be the healthiest way actually to heat it up, but a microwave will work well for any of these. You just got to realize that if someone's using a toaster oven to heat them up with, it is important to make sure that the ingredients are all totally thawed in at room temperature, or if the ingredients inside the glass are still frozen and you stick it in a toaster oven, it could possibly break the glass. It might not, especially if you put it in there and then heat it up. Don't heat the oven up first and then stick it in there. It might heat up slowly enough that it won't break the glass. So just a lot of things you have to keep in mind when you're doing this, but it is still a great way to save a lot of money on restaurant bills, cafeteria bills, or any kind of whatever where someone has to go out to eat, or even buying prepackaged foods that you stick in the lunch. This is a healthier way that you can make lunch for your spouse or for yourself or even for your kids wherever they're going. I mean, this wouldn't be ideal for school lunch, this kind of thing, because kids don't usually have access to heat stuff up. But just some things to think about for anyone else who needs a portable kind of lunch and has a way to warm them up to heat them, unless they don't mind eating them cold. because some of that stuff I don't mind. You know, some stuff I can actually eat cold, and I'm happy with that. So anyway, I hope this helped and gave you a few ideas. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I know I could have put so many more meal ideas on there besides what I listed off, but really this is about you being creative with what you already make, and then packaging it up in a way. And then I would just have a set place in the freezer where I'd stack all these things, and then I could just pull them out and also mix them up. That was the other nice thing, is when, at least when he was here, if I had enough in the freezer, he didn't have to eat the same one every day. I could grab different ones each day of the meals I had made. So it's just about making this regular meal you'd already make it bigger than you normally would, and then package up all the extra. So there you have it. And if anyone else has some great ideas, whether it be for containers or meals or ways to package them up to help people save money on food bills for those who have to eat lunch or any kind of meal outside the home, please share this in the comments down below so people can learn from you as well. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.